Take a look at the local dailies. All right, we start off with the Daily Nation today. Bribes to clear rogue doctors. This is an expose by this paper. A scandal. The Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council is tasked with carrying out impartial investigations into complaints of negligence following the death or maiming of patients. But the regulator is now facing accusations of demanding bribes, with errant doctors who play ball getting away with a slap on the wrist as families are left to wait for elusive justice. So this is supposed to be like the regulator of the medical practitioners. So they check if at all a doctor is accused of malpractice. This is the council that decides whether or not to punish such a doctor, but it would appear that there's a lot of bribery within the council. So a doctor found culpable can actually bribe their way out of that accusation. So the Medics Union has demanded immediate dissolution of this council. So they quote here David Kariuki, who's the Chief Executive Officer, Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council, saying the council is committed to upholding the highest standards of integrity, transparency and accountability in regulating the medical and dental professions in Kenya. He says, we take all allegations seriously and strive to ensure fair processes for all parties involved. This is a story on pages 2 and 3 of this paper. And then now the big one, what we are discussing. Ruto Uhuru season 2 duel unfolds, because it would appear that once again after 2022, 2027, according to so many politicians, it will be Uhuru versus Ruto again. Yeah, is it? Remember, in those two instances, President Uhuru Kenyatta is not on the ticket, yet it was still Ruto versus Uhuru. 2027, he'll still not be on the ticket, but they're saying it's still Uhuru versus Ruto. Why? Kwa nini muna insist hivi? All President Ruto's allies are linking his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta to growing opposition to his government, suggesting the next year's general election could set up a replay of their rivalries in the last polls. Dr. Ruto's camp believe Kenyatta is assembling a coalition against his re-election, citing installation of Kalonzo Musyoka as party leader to replace Raila, who died last October, and Fred Matiang'i as Jubilee Party deputy leader. They also see his hand in the factional wars engulfing ODM, and they insist that he is behind the Linda Mwananchi, your movement ya Sifuna, Babu Owino na wengineo. That story on page 7, and it will form the basis of our big discussion today. Other quick highlights here. Opposition's Gusii declaration walisema wanakaa pamoja hadi mwisho. A story on page 6. And yeah, that's the front page of the Daily Nation. Kule ndani, hadithi gani muhimu? Kumbuka ile dawa. Remind me the name again.
Lenacapavir.
It's supposed to be rolled out today in Kenya.
Yes, in Kenya.
Yes, it is nowhere in the dailies. I'm looking for it and I can't see it anywhere.
But we'll see it somewhere.
I will see it somewhere. All right. So that's a big story there. And pale nyuma, a big leap. Olympian and Diego turns pro. Matter sports. After almost 2 decades in the amateur ranks, history-making Kenyan female boxer Elizabeth and Diego has finally turned professional. This is a 39-year-old captain of the national boxing team. You can read more on that on the back page of the Daily Nation this morning.
All right, the Standard has gone very different today. It talks about RSF passport share. A diplomatic storm is brewing after the US sanctioned Algoni Hamdan Daglo Musa. This is a younger brother of RSF Commander Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo for alleged genocide, weapons procurement and financing paramilitary operations in Sudan. Shockingly, US records show he holds a Kenyan passport, raising questions about how a wallet secured the official document. Now, the revelation threatens to intensify scrutiny over Kenya's past engagements with RSF. This is a story on page 4. The passport number is here on the front page.
Passport number on the front page.
Yes. AK. You would wonder coming in AK-47. But it's AK-1586127. It's here on the front page. There's no way he can run away from this. Officials, ma'am, Sudan RSF rebel leader found with Kenyan passport. Among other things, he's accused of genocide, moving money, and sourcing weapons. There's a story on page 4. The immigration official An immigration official, rather, has been quoted here on the inside pages, and he said, it's a valid passport number, but I can't comment further. I know things are not looking good. So they know things are not looking good. That's the only story covered on the front page of the Standard, and the inside pages, page 2. Little to show despite governors spending 4.67 trillion shillings since 2013.
That's a lot of money.
It is.
Okay, fine. It could be, how many, 13 years since the rollout of devolution. But 4.67 trillion shillings is a lot of money. Yet in some counties, there's still a lot of poverty.
Now, it says that ratio of counties' budget spent on development in the last 5 financial years compared to 50% on personnel emoluments and 25% on operation and maintenance is just 25%. So out of 50%, only 25% have been used. On page 3, there's a story here, father wins right to child's name in landmark ruling. Family's agony as kid's body detained in morgue over bill. Another story on page 3. United opposition vows to block the sale of government entities. Leaders say selling Safaricom shares threaten taxpayers and Kenya's economy birthright. They urge voter registration to prevent dictatorship and protect democratic governance. That's a story on page 5. Another story on page 7, Gachagua claims rattles South Rift leaders. In Bomet, former DP claimed Ruto and local leaders had abandoned the region. Area leader accused Gachagua of trying to divide the Kalenjin community. All right, parliamentary purge could alienate ODM from supporters. That's a story on page 6, a very interesting one. It says MPs face wrath of parties for taking stands that are different from the party bosses. Move could, however, boomerang as supporters of these leaders feel slighted by the demotions. On the back page, Bordeaux Glimt have their Champions League future in their hands. And FIFA boss reassured about World Cup in Mexico.
You know what's happening in Mexico? There was protests and fighting, gunfights all over Mexico after the killing of a cartel leader, anaitwa El Mencho. So that's why, because we do expect that Mexico, the US and Canada will be hosting the World Cup. So many people are concerned about the security of teams and football fans who will be traveling for that. But wameambiwa msijali, tutakuwa tu sawa. Hii ni mambo tumezoea hapa Mexico, bunduki ni kitu ya kawaida. All right, that's as far as matters sports are concerned on the back page of the Standard. Let's go to the Star. On the Star today, we talk about pay headache. MPs step in to rescue broke civil servants. There's been this debate about, and there's a rule, one of the labor provisions is that you're not allowed to commit more than 2/3 of your pay. So that your pay slip, even after all deductions, should have at least 1/3 of your pay as take home. But now, since some of these things happened, the introduction of new taxation, the housing levy and others, many civil servants were found to have exceeded that amount. So it went to Parliament, and MPs now say it is okay to take home less than 1/3 of basic pay. So I guess MPs have stepped in to rescue broke civil servants. That's the story on pages 4 and 5. It is now not really a big issue. Even if you take less than 1/3, it's okay, according to Parliament. Ruto opens classrooms as opposition woos Kisii voters, and they've been in Kisii for a while now. So they have two pictures here on the front page of the Star, of the president on one hand and Wiper Patriotic Front leader Kalonzo Musyoka on the other. Alafu wameandika hapa hi cousin. President William Ruto stayed at Westlands Primary School yesterday and Wiper leader during the rally in Nyamache, Kisii yesterday. While vow, I think according to the front page of the Daily Nation, they vowed to stick together till election time. The other story here, the pain, terror and horrors of Shakahola. One of the witnesses against Mackenzie, the pastor ule wa kule Shakahola, anaitwa Enos Amanyangala, Elias Hallelujah. He actually said that Mackenzie actually buried his own child at Shakahola.
Mackenzie's child?
Yes. He was actually giving evidence in court. That story is on page 22. Other stories here, how killer OCS moved from police chief to death row convict. That's someone in the justice corridors, page 9. And there's a feature about dog meat for a peace ritual that settled centuries-old Teso Bukusu land dispute. So they used dog meat for this ritual. That story is on page 25. And I'm still looking for that story, Lena Kapavir. Because that's a big one, and we saw it on the front pages of other papers in the region. Yeah. But in Kenya, it's like, it's still not a big thing. But now, there's alarm, and there's this story on page 7 of the Star. There's alarm of a drug abuse crisis as 7-year-olds smoke bang, according to Nakada.
7-year-olds.
7-year-olds are smoking bang. Yeah. Our Gen Z na Gen Alpha mambo yao imekuwa ngumu sana. All right, that's the Star. Fresh, independent, different. You can grab yourself a copy of this one for only 60 shillings.
All right, Taifa Leo, Hawajamalizana. Kina nani hawa? President William Ruto and former President Uhuru Kenyatta on the front page side by side. Kuanzia azimio la umoja wa Kenya mnamo mwaka 2022 hadi wakati huu ambapo kampeni za one term zimechacha, alama za uwepo wa rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta zinaonekana wazi katika siasa za Kenya. Ushirikiano wake na marehemu kiongozi wa ODM Raila Odinga, ushawishi wake kwa kinara wa Wiper Patriotic Front Kalonzo Musyoka, pamoja na tetesi za uhusiano wake na vuguvugu la Linda Mwananchi umegeuza uchaguzi ujao wa Kenya kuwa marudio ya ubabe kati ya Uhuru na Rais Ruto. Washirika wa Ruto wakemea Uhuru wakisema ndiye mfadhili wa kampeni ya kumtungua rais mamlakani. Habari hii iko katika ukurasa wa pili wa gazeti hili. Tumezungumzia zaidi katika ukurasa wa mbele wa The Daily Nation. Vidokeza zaidi, maswali tele kuhusu hoteli karibu na Ikulu. Ujenzi wa hoteli karibu na makazi rasmi ya rais, eneo lenye ulinzi mkali, umeibua maswali kuhusu mmiliki halisi. Haikwangi? This hotel, is it a new hotel?
Yes, there's a new construction. This is a State House Nakuru. So there's a new construction very close to State House. It's just there on the road, on the highway. You can actually see it. So because, and debate around state houses and state lodges has been on the dailies this entire week. Walikuwa nasema kuna nyingi watu grab land across. Sasa unasikia kuna jengo limejengwa pale karibu na state na Ikulu ya Nakuru. Pia, there was this debate about land grabbing and this hospital that's very close to State House in Nakuru. Inaitwaje? Annex. Yeah. Imeleta vita sana governor wa Nakuru na wengine. Pia hiyo watu wanasema it could be an issue about land grabbing as well.
Upinzani walenga kwa Ruto baada ya ziara ya Gusii. Muungano upinzani wapanga kuvamia ngome ya rais ya Bonde la Ufa. Ni habari katika ukurasa wa 3. International news, Amerika na Iran warushiana maneno. Rais Trump awasilisha hoja kuhusu uwezekano wa kuishambulia Iran akihutubia Congress. On the top strip, maseneta wakaba koo magavana wajitenga na magavana katika msimamo wao wa kudai shilingi bilioni 534 kama mgao wa kaunti. Na hiyo habari ya Mackenzie, alizika pia mtoto wake mchanga, shahidi asema hapo jana. Taifa Leo.
Kutoka kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo tuangazie People Daily. Is Kenya sliding towards a repeat of the 2007 post-election chaos? It is among the issues we were discussing even yesterday on the panel, the issues around security and the proliferation of gangs, political gangs and goons, some of them supervised by police. So this story has been given quite some coverage on pages 3, 4 and 5 of the People Daily. Violence at rallies, we've seen mistrust in the electoral agency, waning popularity of the incumbent and worrying socioeconomic status of the citizens are all painful ingredients, frightfully similar to the political situation 20 years ago. And you know, when we look at 20 years ago as such a very long time, but anyone who was there around 2007 can actually have memories of what happened. It is a situation that no Kenyan would want to go back to. But the red flags are already there. The violence that we're already witnessing, some even using police guns and tear gas at rallies. The fact that police have been accused of not countering this kind of chaos and probably even accompanying goons. Many people are saying, well, this is not good. This is actually a recipe for disaster. Na meanwhile, NCIC wamenyamaza tu. Other quick highlights on the front page of the People Daily, how 2 tribes control key jobs in 4 parastatals, and this comes from a report by the Public Service Commission, that a few communities, but this has always been there. Every year, wanasema this community and the other, 3 or 4 of them, tunazijua. They're the ones dominating the public service and even positions in parastatals. Why anti-broad-based MPs were stripped of key House committees roles One of them is Karoli Omondi, who used to chair a committee in Parliament yesterday. Aliamka akasema, well, because every member of Parliament has to serve at least in one committee. He was in only one committee as chair. Now he says he's not in any committee. But at least they're supposed to be at least in one committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruto Odinga.
Ruto Odinga also, and that I think ndo imeibua tetesi mingi zaidi.
Kabisa.
That the sister of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, the former party leader, hata yeye anaweza tolewa kwa committee. Anyway, lakini najua party leader saisi ni ndugu yake.
Yes.
Sasa ni mambo ya familia watasota watu kule nyumbani. People Daily. People and politics, emerging voices.
Finally, Business Daily. Worst ministries, agencies in supplier payments revealed. This is the front page of the Business Daily. It says 7 ministries, including the presidency, 2 commissions in Nairobi County, are in the blacklist of public entities incapable of paying billions of shillings owed to suppliers, setting up several businesses for collapse and auction. Now, state departments under the ministries, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and the National Land Commission are unable to settle pending bills in excess of 135 billion shillings from budgetary allocations, disclosures by the Parliamentary Budget Office, PBO shows. Now, the PPO says in a report that Nairobi, the 7 ministries, the IEBC and the Land Commission cannot pay that amount. That is 135 billion shillings. This is the story on page 2. Transport CS is here. Davis Chirchir, Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja is also here. And of course, the IEBC chairperson, Erastus Ethicon, is also here on the front page. Sakaja has really suffered since last week.
After he signed off those functions, he hasn't seen peace.
Sakaja is seeing bad things, but we are praying for you. Police denied insurance compensation after 2 billion shillings default. That's another story on page 2 on the ticker. Pressure piles on Treasury over infrastructure fund. Experts have flagged gaps in the proposed law that seeks to create a national infrastructure fund, warning that they expose the endowment to risk of political patronage and financial leaks. Wanasema yes, itakuwa PPP, lakini hiyo pesa tuko sure itatumika vipi kwa the NIF, National Infrastructure Fund, ama maybe there's somebody who will just come and take that money and use it for something else. So that's what's at stake here. It's a story on page 4. Chinese firm lines up 2 billion shillings copper mining plant in Makueni, and CBK bond sales to limit upward rates pressure. That's the Business Daily this morning.
All right, let's take a look at what's big within the region, and we take a look at Uganda. We'll start off with the Daily Monitor. Yes, at least I can see the story of HIV pale juu. But before we get to that, on the front page of the Daily Monitor, this is interesting because if this story can actually be replicated in Kenya, people will be very comfortable. Plan to evict borders starts. They call it a solution. In a move that authorities say intends to organize the border sector and its related criminality and restore sanity and order in the city, the plan seeks to ban any unregistered border from accessing the 5 city divisions, kule Kampala. This is something that even Kenyans would want to see.
Yes.
There's been a lot of discussion about the disorder that is brought about by the borders. I know they've become uncontrollable. They're even being used by politicians to ferry goons. They are also considered to be among the biggest risk when it comes to crime, petty crimes within the city. So yes, in Kampala at least wameanza kufanya kushughulikia hao. Hata hapa Nairobi, huyo Sakaja unasema ashughulikie haya pia.
Kwanza CBD is very, very chaotic.
Yes, especially the border
one-way road, unaangalia left, pikipiki inatoka right. Inatoka
upande, the wrong side of the road.
Yes.
Yes. Alafu akikugonga, anakukasirikia sana.
Hakuna pole, nakwambia toka kwa barabara uangalie.
Other quick highlights hapa, Museveni pledges security support. Lakini pale juu, that mention of the lenacapavir. 19,200 doses of HIV prevention drug arrive in Uganda. In Kenya, it is to be rolled out today. So the shipment supported by the Global Fund arrived on Monday and will be distributed to high burden and high incident districts as part of efforts to stem the tide of new infections. This is according to the Ministry of Health in Uganda. Same thing is happening in Kenya. They roll out today. But I don't know why we rarely see something as big as this. When it's related to HIV, most of our dailies are not really interested in that story. Anyway, this is the front page of the Daily Monitor in Uganda. Truth every day, Daily Monitor.
All right. New Vision government workers paid for 47 billion shillings illegal benefits. Auditor General implicates over 1,300 civil servants. So Auditor Generals are working across board overtime. Who is behind destruction of Bugoma Forest Reserve is a story captured on page 6 of the New Vision. Archbishop Kazimba rallies Ugandans for Harvest Money Expo. Makerere University passes out a record of 215 PhDs. Graduation is in progress this whole week.
Yes.
Started Monday.
Week-long graduation.
Started yesterday?
Yes. Week-long. I think it started on Monday.
Yes. So that's the New Vision.
Let's cross over to Tanzania and we start off with the Citizen. EAC financial strain triggers debate on defaulting states. A worsening financial crisis in the East African community is raising tough questions about whether partner states that fail to honor their financial obligations deserve to remain in the regional bloc. Yes. And they quote here, wanasema nini? Kenya's President, William Ruto, who's actually the chair, has summoned an emergency summit in March to tackle the financial crisis, with experts saying that the gathering could shape the community's future course. Dr. Freddy Mutabi, a diplomat expert, says the summit carries unusual heft because the organization is currently in an operational crisis. Some countries are not making their contribution, and that's why even MPs are not getting paid, EALA MPs. Some of the... And if you look at this map, of all the East African countries, each of the country has outstanding amounts, apart from Kenya. Kenya ndio iko na zero. Wengine wote, like Uganda, owes $1 million. South Sudan, $22 million. Somalia, $11 million. Rwanda, $5 million. DR Congo, $28 million. Burundi, $23 million. Tanzania, which plays host to the EAC, owes $122,694. So Kenya is the only country within East Africa that has paid up its contribution. Yes. That's a big story there. The other story is vulnerable groups named as government issues COVID-19 influenza alert. I've heard this even in Kenya, people saying that COVID-19, ni kama kihoma kimerudi, watu wanasema ni COVID-19. In Kenya, we're not talking about it, but in Tanzania, it's official. The government has said there's an alert, COVID-19. Yes.
Gazeti la Mwananchi, nizamu vigogo CCM kufyekwa. Ni Chama cha Mapinduzi. Vikao vya juu vyaanza kuchora ramani, sekretarieti ya Daktari Migiro kufumwa upya, vuguvugu uchaguzi wa CCM na makundi ya jipanga. Ni habari tu katika ukurasa wa 4. This is the ruling party in Tanzania. Vigogo kufyekwa kule. Can that happen in Kenya? Vigogo wale ambao wameshikilia chama waamue kutolewa.
Unajua chama cha ODM wakati huu wana masuala kama hayo. Ya kuondoa vigogo chamani.
Letu jicho. Huyu ndiye Pengo, dada yake asimulie maisha yake kabla ya utume. Ni habari nyingine hapo katika ukurasa wa ndani wa gazeti hili. Mauaji ya Ngoma kuamsha vita mpya, na habari nyingine hapa inasema kwamba Aisha ateuliwa mjumbe mpya bodi ya MCL. Nafikiri hii ni
masuala ya gazeti Mwananchi
Communications Limited. Kule juu the top strip CUF hakupoi dunga tinga kwa msajili. This is as far as regional daily.
Yes, lakini pia wamezungumzia habari hiyo ya sababu ongezeko la mafua, wanasema COVID-19, wataalamu waonya kule Tanzania. Nafikiri hapa Kenya pia tukiendelea hivi vile tutaendelea. Tutasikia masuala ya COVID-19 hapa na pale. Tuangazie karakacha sasa, and we start off with the People Daily.